Greetings, my beautiful lovelies, it's Emmy. How are you? And welcome back. Today I'm going to be baking some bread. I'm going to be making a Panda Sal. So many of my beautiful lovelies from the Philippines have requested that I make Panda Sal, and of course I didn't know what it was, so I had to look it up, and it looks marvelous. Panda Sal are beautiful little rolls that are typically eaten for breakfast or lunch, and they're so cute and charming, and they're dusted with a little bit of breadcrumbs. So stinking cute. They kind of look like Parker House rolls, but they're not served typically in the evening with dinner. They're had for breakfast or lunch, and sometimes they're dipped into coffee. It sounds delicious. Today I'm going to be making two versions of Pandesal. I'm going to be making an ube version, and ube is a beautiful purple yam eaten in the Philippines and all over Asia. It's got a lovely sweet flavor and a gorgeous purple color. So I'm going to be making half a batch with ube. Oh, not only is it going to be flavored with ube, it's going to be stuffed with cheese. So ube, cheese, Pandesal, and then I'm going to do the original version. Since I've never had Pandesal before, I thought I must have the original, and then I'm going to do this sweet potato version as well. So big thanks again to all of my beautiful lovelies who reached out to me and requested that I make this recipe. It looks absolutely lovely. A little bit of background about Pandesal and how pan or bread was introduced to the Philippines. Bread has been in the Philippines since the 16th century when it was introduced by colonizers, and it has since become a huge part of Filipino culture. So let's go ahead and make some Pandesal. The recipe that I'm going to be using today comes from Savory Easy. I'll put a link down below to the original recipe. My plan of attack is to make the classic Pandesal. I'm going to divide it in half, and then the second half I'm going to flavor with the ube extract and then stuff it with cheese. So let's go ahead and get started. In a large bowl, we're going to add 1 cup of warm milk. Boop. 1/4 cup of melted butter. 1 large egg. Give that a little bit of a mix. Now we're going to add 2 teaspoons of instant yeast or rapid rise yeast. This is not the same as dry active yeast. If you have dry active yeast, you're going to have to find a conversion online, and you'll probably have to bloom it in a little bit of warm water. So this does not need to be bloomed. 2 teaspoons of that. I'm going to switch to my Danish whisk. These measuring cups are pretty stinking cute. They're really great for kids actually, because they can visually see how much a quarter is relative to 1 whole cup. Really great. I do have to say they don't clean up as nicely as I would like. They are made out of plastic and they scratch, so yeah, there is that. And they also have corners, so they're not the greatest to clean with, but they're great teaching tools. We're going to use 1/4 cup of sugar, so these are going to be sweet, which is interesting because this is salt bread, Panda Sal, but it actually is sweet. So 1/4 cup of sugar. 1 teaspoon of salt. Now we're going to add 3 1/4 cups of flour. Boop. And form it into a dough. See what I mean with this whisk? It's got such large holes that it makes it really easy to stir a stiff batter. So this bread recipe does not require a stand mixer. Actually, most breads can be made without a stand mixer. A stand mixer just makes the kneading process a lot easier. Very shaggy looking, right? Now we're just gonna wrap this and let it rest for 20 minutes before we knead it. It will allow the flour to completely hydrate, absorb all of that milk, and allow the kind of gluten to relax, and it'll make the kneading process a little bit easier. So I will see you in 20 minutes. It's been 20 minutes, so let's knead our dough. I'm gonna divide this dough in half, and I wanna do this accurately, so I'm using my scale. Half of this is going to be plain, and half of this is going to be ube. We're going to knead this for 7 minutes until the dough is nice and smooth and elastic. Now this dough is an enriched dough. It contains an egg and butter, kind of similar to like a brioche dough, and they tend to have a lot of moisture in them. So don't be tempted to add too much flour because you're gonna have a very dry loaf of bread. What you're gonna do instead is just knead it 7 minutes by hand, And you'll see already, see how elastic it's getting and smooth? And when I roll it, it's actually not sticking to the surface at all. And that little bit of a rest time makes this dough a lot easier to knead. So our dough is beautiful and shiny, and I'm tucking the ends under like this, forming a ball. Now I'm gonna oil my bowl, coat the top of the ball, and tuck it under. And now we're going to let this rest for about an hour or so, or until the dough doubles in size. For the ube Panda Sal, we're gonna add some ube extract. This is Butterfly brand ube flavoring. Oh, it smells lovely. It smells nutty, almost like hazelnut. Sweet. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of this to my dough. Ooh, look at that color. Look at that. Oh my gosh. So since we're adding a little bit more moisture to the dough, we might need to add a little bit of flour. I mean, gloves? Why would you have gloves? What do you need gloves for? Gloves? All right, Frank, settle down. All right, so we're just gonna knead this and try not to get our hands too badly stained. I think it's kind of a lost cause at this point. I'm gonna use a little bit of flour because this looks wet. Here we go. Work all that ube flavoring into the dough. You can really feel it transform in your hands. Okay, so I think we are there. That's beautiful. So tuck the ends under, kind of pinch it together. And then in another bowl, add some oil. Ooh, I have an earwig in my oil, awesome. Twirl it and then flip it over and let that rest until it doubles. Hello lovelies, I am back. It's been about an hour, hour and a half, and my doughs have doubled beautifully. Is that interesting how the ube dough looks larger than the plain dough, even though they weigh exactly the same amount? It's because this bowl is smaller. It's all about relativity, isn't it? Now we're gonna shape these into rolls. So 409 divided by 9 is 45 grams, is that right? 45, 46 grams. Yeah, okay. Degas this, remove the carbon dioxide. So let me weigh these out. Now we're gonna shape our dough balls. Just take the dough and stretch them, tucking the ends under and rubbing them to seal them. So seal it like that. And then on the countertop, give them a good little roll. So we get this cute little sphere. And then we're gonna roll them into some fresh breadcrumbs. These are breadcrumbs, and then I push them through a sieve to make sure they were nice and fine. Dip them into there. Oh, look how cute. They look like little fuzzy hedgehogs. And now we're gonna place them onto a baking tray. Did you know that the Philippines is made up of over 7,600 different islands? 7,600 islands. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Okay, dust this. Alrighty, so I'm gonna shape all the plain ones and then we'll come back with the ube. We're gonna do a similar thing when it comes to shaping these. We're gonna take the dough, stretch it, and then we're gonna put a piece of cheese inside. So I'm using a piece of bright orange Velveeta cheese. You want something that can melt in nicely, and pinch that inside. Twist it together and dust them with the breadcrumbs. So there are other versions of the ube Panda Sal that include a little bit of ube jam. I unfortunately wasn't able to find any, but I think that would be so delicious as well. When I buy loaves of bread, I like to save the ends, and then after I get a bunch of the ends, I grind them up to make fresh breadcrumbs, and I use them to bread chicken and stuff. And I store them in my freezer, the breadcrumbs, and then I always have fresh breadcrumbs on hand. We're going to cover these in plastic and let them have their second rise. It should take about 30 minutes, 45 minutes until they're nice and poofy. And then we're going to place them in a preheated 180 degrees centigrade, around 350 degrees Fahrenheit oven, and bake them for 18 to 20 minutes. And then we should have beautiful Panda Sal to eat and to eat and to eat. Alrighty, my beautiful lovelies, look at this. My Panda Sal have just come out of the oven. They look beautiful. I wish you could smell them. It smells so good. I love the smell of freshly baked bread. It's just so inviting. It just makes you hungry even when you're not. Let's eat these. They look so great. I know you're supposed to allow bread to cool once you take it out of the oven, but I mean, how can you resist? How can you resist? I can't. I'm gonna grab this one right here. So stinking cute. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, that looks great. Look at that. Beautiful. It's got a slight yellow color to it because it has egg and butter in it. Oh my gosh. And it's got this crispy top. This looks amazing. Okay, here we go. Itadakimasu. Freshly baked bread is so good. I have to say that's one of the positives of this pandemic, is that I've done a lot of baking this year, a lot. And I've come to appreciate bread baking even more. And the way it fills up your house with such a beautiful smell. Warm and tender, slightly sweet, enriched. The top has a really nice toasted, like little crunch to it. Slightly crackly, but then you've got the breadcrumbs on top, which give you an extra little bit of crunch and toastiness. So lovely. The crumb is light and fluffy. It reminds me a little bit of Hawaiian bread, which was inspired by Portuguese bread, which this bread was inspired by too. So not surprising there. Not as sweet as Hawaiian bread, but similar kind of enriched flavor and billowy texture. So good. Alrighty, let's go ahead and taste one of the ube ones. I can't wait to open one of these. These are filled with cheese. Yeah, look at that color contrast. Alrighty, let's give that one a go. Cheese is hot. That's good. The cheese is salty and oozy. And the bright purple bread has a slight nutty sweet flavor to it because we added that ube flavoring. I'm sure if I had some ube jam, it would punch up the ube flavor even more. But that combination of slightly sweet and salty is delicious. The Velveeta cheese works really well in here, not only as a color, but as a flavor too. It's salty and rich, but that richness kind of is echoed in the richness of the bread itself. Lovely. So soft and tender. And then I love the little breadcrumbs on top. They add a little added sandy crunch to the top. Delicious. Panda Sal, two different ways. We have the beautiful ube cheese and the good old Panda Sal plain. Absolutely delicious. And relatively easy to make, as all bread making generally is. It's just a matter of planning. You have to plan for the two rises, you mix the ingredients, make sure you knead it enough, bake it, and you've got bread. Thank you all once again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye.